And here's the project on the agenda. A slitting punch. I made this for the Covered Bridge Indiana Blacksmith Association meeting this coming month to be put in the iron in the hat. I'll put this punch in the iron and hat, and then a piece of coil spring just like it, about the same length anyway, and it'll be a punch slice chisel kit. So somebody can get a chisel or a punch, and somebody can get a kit to make their own. And here is a slot. I've already tested it, make sure it worked. There's a slot I cut with it. That's how big a slot it cuts. Nice and clean. And there was no mushrooming on the end. You can see, just if you look real close, you can see where it colored going through the hot steel. So let's get to making it. I have a piece of automobile coil spring here that I've straightened out, and I use straighten in the least of the sense. There's no sense in getting out of hand on getting it straight where you're not going to be forging on it. The first thing I'm going to do is start a hexagon on the end here. I've already done this end, but I thought I'd stop and do the other end and make a video of it. So this being high carbon steel, we don't want to work it too hot, but we also don't want to work it cold. So it's in and out of the fire a lot. Now, first thing we're going to do is about a hammer's width, establish a flat. Get my brush out here. So I've got a flat spot. Now we turn it 60 degrees, which is about right there. And establish another flat. Another 60 degrees. And another one. Now, where the anvil was on the opposite side, you should have the starting of a flat in the right spot, and it looks to me like I've hit that one about right. So we've got our hexagon started there, and it's back in the fire. Now I like to get about a hammer's width of this established. Then I can carry that shape on up the chisel. I'm going to keep the mill scale cleaned off your forge. So all you do is pound in imperfections. I'm working about 2 inches of it here. You don't want to kill it. It doesn't take a lot of hammer pressure. And right there is a real good start to a hexagon chisel. Or a punch. Today I'm making a punch. So now all I got to do is just carry that on up the length I want. And I'll do that, and then I'll bring you back in for the next step. Alright, it's time to bring you back. I've got a good section of that with a hex on it. I guess I'm being a witch. Yeah, I've got about 9 inches. Now I'm going to cut it off probably about an 8-inch mark. Yeah. I want a little bit of hex left on there so that when I start my next punch or chisel, I won't have to start the hex. I've already done that. And it's real easy to cut this stuff. Cut it to center with the hot cut with that hex. And I'll show you that right now. So we set that so that we got a flat side down, a flat side up. And we give it a good wallop. Then line it up with it. Pull it over to the side, turn it to the next flat, give it a wallop. Just keep doing that all the way around. As you can see, it doesn't do a lot to the hex that we've already established doing it that way. And just like that, we're cut to center. Get me a pair of tongs here. Put that down there for the next time around. And that end there I'll use for the striking end. So I'm going to taper that just a little bit. Get this hot cut where it belongs. I like to put a little bit of a taper on the striking end of my punches and chisels. You want that blow to be directed to the center of your cutting punch or cutting chisel. So the smaller that head is, really, the better it is. So we'll hold that up at a little bit of an angle and just start tapering that down. And seeing how my GoPro just went dead, there is the taper that I just put on there. Now some of that will grind off. I'll take a file and I'll flatten this end here after I get it annealed. So now we need to work on the punch end of it. Now I need to taper down the other end. I'm going to make a slot punch out of this one. Like I said, I've got my striking end tapered a little bit there. Now, to me, this is just me, it's important that this taper be lined up with one of the flat edges. So, now I should have had this in there preheating, but that's okay. We can still get that hot. I use this railroad spike over and over and over again to preheat my wood ashes that I anneal in. Now we'll get as much of this chisel up to critical temperature as we can. There we go. Now we'll grab a hold of the railroad spike, pull it out, and put the punch in. And that is all of it for today. Next step will be shaping, and we'll do that tomorrow. So I'll be back. Well, it's been right at 24 hours since we put that in here. And right there it is. And that's what it looks like. See if I can zoom you out here a little bit there. That's what it looks like when it comes out of the ashes. So I'll clean that, scrape some of that off, that crust off of there. Then we'll get a file out. We'll go to finalizing the shape. Started the file work on this and forgot to bring you along. I forgot yesterday when I was forging this to round off these corners. But we can do that now. So that's the work, the hammering end, which we will not harden. And there's the working end, all filed down nice and smooth. And that's the end that will harden and temper. And that's the next step. Okay, I've got my piece in the fire. I need to bring it up to critical temperature again. Where it's non-magnetic, then we'll quench it in that peanut oil. That will harden it. And now we'll quench. Keep it moving. Like I said, we don't want to harden the end that we hammer on. We want to keep it soft. Don't want it to be harder than the hammer, damage a hammer. Now that we've got that hard, we need to polish it a little bit with some sandpaper so that we can see the colors in the steel. So, got a piece of sandpaper here that I've just about wore out. I think it'll make one more time. Use this flat bar. And you can see it turning real good there now. We'll let it go natural here for a second. And call it quits. On that last heat, I can do that way. That way the back end of that bar doesn't get heated up again to where it'll carry heat into it after I'm done here. So now we just want to let that back end air cool. I can set it on the anvil and let the anvil suck the heat out of it. And there you have it. One slot punch. I'll probably wire brush that off after it cools down real good. Put some metal oil on it so that it doesn't rust. And when I say metal oil, I'll show you what I mean. Name of the company up there at the top, Sculpt Nuovo. This is their metal oil. I consider this really a real good finish. It'll actually dry in a few weeks to where you can put lacquer on it if you want to, if it's going to be outside, but it'll soak into that metal and make it really nice. Usually what I do is I take a paper towel and wipe it on with a paper towel. You want to put it on cold, you don't want to put it on hot. So after it gets down to room temperature, I'll put it on and I'll use a paper towel, and what's left on the paper towel I'll wipe on top of my anvil. Help keep the surface of it from rusting. So I don't guess you need to see that. I guess we're done.